Hello, and welcome to Spook and Lore, a Wayward Spirit Media podcast. My name is Liz Ashley, and every week I will be telling you a spooky story filled with ghosts and lore. And this week, we are talking about the infamous LEMP family. That's right, we are talking about the haunted LEMP Brewery and Mansion. The LEMP Mansion is actually said to be one of the 10 most haunted places in America. And it just happens to be in my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. Back in 1838, the first LEMP, Adam LEMP, came to St. Louis from Germany. He was the one who started LEMP Brewery using a recipe received from his father. LEMP Brewery was very successful and ended up being one of the largest in the city at the time. It was even in the St. Louis World's Fair. When Adam Lemp died in 1862, William Lemp took over the family business. William expanded the brewery and made it what it remains today. The family ended up building a mansion just down the street from the brewery, what is now known as the infamous LEMP Mansion. There was even a tunnel created to go from the basement of the mansion to the basement of the brewery. They put a theater, bowling alley, and swimming pool down there. And in the 1890s, LEMP Brewery became nationally known, and the family even helped Anheuser-Busch get started with their beer. And though their business was a success, their family life was not. William Lemp's son, Frederick Lemp, died in 1901 of heart failure at only 28. Then, William's best friend, who helped him run the brewery, died in 1904. And after this, he was in a deep depression and was never the same. William ended up committing suicide on February 13th, 1904 by shooting himself in the head in the LEMP Mansion. And on ghost tours, some say that they can see him in the window committing the act. So, his other son, William Lemp Jr., took over the brewery, but him and his wife got a little too excited with their new inheritance and spent enormous amounts of money on clothes and art. William even began to pay his wife to shop and leave the house so he could throw lavish parties in the tunnel and enjoy the company of other women. And as the story goes, one of these other women became pregnant. And it is said that the child was kept in the attic for his whole life. Now, this is just a speculative story, but there are maids that confirmed it, and a lot of ghost tour recipients have said to see this little boy in the attic. And more tragedies continued to ensue. William Lemp Jr. and his wife divorced, and then 9 of the large breweries in the St. Louis area combined to form Independent Breweries Company, which was a huge competitor for the Lemp Brewery. And by the time that prohibition came around in 1919, the brewery was falling apart. William Lemp Jr. was so distracted by the money and the parties and the divorce and his child out of wedlock that he wasn't keeping up with the brewery. So he abruptly closed it down and never told anybody about it. Then on March 20th, 1920, another tragedy ensued for the Lemp family. William Lemp Jr.'s sister shot herself just like her father. And after the death of his sister and the closure of the brewery, William Lemp Jr. began to go into a deep depression, much like his father. And on December 29th, 1922, he shot himself in the heart in the very same building that his father did. William Lemp Jr. had another brother named Charles that never got involved in the brewery, but he did end up living in the mansion after his brother died. And while he was living there, it is said that the boy who lived in the attic died at the age of 30, and that he was buried on the cemetery plot, but the headstone only said Lemp. After this, Charles became increasingly paranoid and then became the fourth member of the Lemp family to commit suicide. First shooting his dog, then shooting himself. Again in the same building as his father and his brother. And someone I know has gone on this ghost tour and has seen the ghost of the dog and Charles while in the mansion. And the last of the Lemp line was Edwin Lemp, who left the family business in 1913 and ended up dying of natural causes at the age of 90. He wanted nothing to do with his family and even ended up burning all of their artifacts in a bonfire. Some say that the Lemp family was cursed and that the only reason Edwin Lemp came out alive was because he got out of the family business and he ended up selling the mansion and the brewery. And a lot of people believe that that's actually why he burned all of these artifacts in the bonfire, because he didn't want to get cursed himself. The Lemp Brewery and Mansion are still standing today, and the LEMP Mansion is now a bed and breakfast where you can stay, and both can be seen on ghost tours. The staff of the bed and breakfast have had some unexplainable occurrences. They have seen apparitions, they have heard voices, and from time to time, glasses from the bar are known to just fly off the shelf. Lights will flicker. Doors will open and close on their own, and the piano will play on its own. Many ghost hunters have even gone to these locations, trying to prove that this little boy lived in the attic. So what they do is they go up to the attic and they leave some toys there. And every time when they come back, the toys are in a different area. So, what do you think? Was the Lemp family cursed? Thank you so much for listening to Spook and Lore. Make sure to join me next week for our next spooky story. And follow on Instagram at Spook and Lore or wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss it. The resources are linked below along with socials and merch. Bye.